Insecurity does not appear because a woman is weak. It appears when she has spent years trying to become someone she never needed to be. Somewhere along the way, many women learned that being calm meant being quiet, that being loved meant being useful, and that being accepted meant not showing too much of what they truly felt. And without noticing, they began to measure themselves constantly. Their appearance, their words, their choices, their worth. In Japan, insecurity is not treated as a personal flaw. It is not something to fight, suppress, or mask with artificial confidence. It is seen as a natural human state, something that can be observed, adjusted, and gently integrated into daily life. And this quiet perspective changes everything. As women reach their 40s, 50s, and 60s, insecurity often takes on a different shape. It is no longer loud or dramatic. It becomes subtle. It hides in hesitation, in overthinking, in self-criticism that whispers instead of shouts. You may notice it when you compare yourself to a younger version of who you once were, or when you hesitate to speak because you fear being misunderstood, or when you question your value now that life no longer revolves around pleasing everyone else. And yet, there is nothing broken about you. Japanese wisdom begins with a principle that feels almost revolutionary in a world obsessed with improvement. It is called wabi-sabi, the understanding that imperfection is not a mistake, but a natural and beautiful part of life. From this perspective, insecurity is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is simply a reflection of where you are right now. Not who you failed to be, not what you should have become, but who you are in this season of life. When a woman stops demanding perfection from herself, something softens inside her. The endless inner commentary begins to quiet. The need to explain herself lessens. The pressure to prove worth slowly dissolves. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" she begins to ask, "What is asking to be acknowledged within me?" This shift alone changes how insecurity feels in the body. It becomes lighter, less personal, less powerful. In Japanese culture, beauty is often found in what is incomplete. A cracked ceramic bowl is not discarded. It is honored. Its cracks are traced with gold, not to hide them, but to show where life has passed through. In the same way, a woman's insecurities are not meant to be erased. They are meant to be understood. Many women spend decades trying to outrun insecurity by becoming more productive, more attractive, more agreeable, or more resilient. But Japanese wisdom suggests something far gentler and far more effective. Acceptance first, adjustment later. When a woman allows herself to be imperfect, she frees an enormous amount of energy. Energy that was once trapped in self-judgment returns to her as presence, as clarity, as calm. And from that calm, a new relationship with insecurity begins. This is where another Japanese principle quietly enters the picture: kaizen. Kaizen is often described as continuous improvement through small steps. But emotionally, it teaches something profound. You do not need to feel confident in order to move forward. Many women wait to feel ready. Ready to speak. Ready to change. Ready to begin again. Ready to trust themselves. But readiness rarely arrives on its own. Japanese women often act gently, even while feeling uncertain. They do not demand courage. They ask only for the smallest possible step. Not, "Am I confident enough?" but, "What is one small thing I can do today without overwhelming myself?" This approach removes the weight of expectation. Insecurity loses its grip when action becomes simple and repeatable, rather than dramatic and demanding. A woman may feel unsure and still take a step. She may feel afraid and still show up. She may feel uncertain and still continue. And slowly, without forcing anything, insecurity begins to loosen. Because insecurity feeds on pressure, and pressure dissolves when progress is gentle. There is also something deeply feminine about this rhythm. It respects the nervous system. It honors emotional cycles. It allows growth without violence toward the self. If this reflection resonates with you, I invite you to pause for a moment. What is one area of your life where you have been waiting to feel more confident before moving forward? You may feel drawn to share this reflection in the comments. Your voice matters here. As women mature, many realize that insecurity is not only internal, it is also social. It appears in the urge to explain, to justify, to soften every boundary with a reason. Japanese culture offers a quiet antidote through the concept of the value of space and silence. Silence in this context is not emptiness. It is presence. Many Japanese women learn that they do not need to fill every pause. They do not need to convince others of their choices. They do not need permission to exist as they are. By speaking less, they preserve energy. By explaining less, they protect their inner ground. By allowing silence, they communicate self-respect. This practice alone reduces social insecurity dramatically, because much of that insecurity comes from seeking validation outside ourselves. When a woman stops over-explaining, she begins to feel more anchored, more solid, more at ease in her own skin. And finally, there is a phrase that carries immense emotional relief: shikata jie nai. It means, it is what it is. But not in resignation, in acceptance. So much insecurity comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. Other people's opinions, past choices, uncertain outcomes. When a woman releases this struggle, her mind relaxes. Her body softens. Her energy returns to what truly matters. She focuses on what is within her reach. Her actions. Her values. Her presence. And insecurity once again loses its intensity, because insecurity thrives in resistance and fades in acceptance. In this first part of our journey, one truth becomes clear. Japanese women do not overcome insecurity by becoming harder. They do it by becoming softer, more present, more accepting, more aligned with life as it is. And this is only the beginning. As a woman continues to mature, something subtle but powerful begins to happen inside her. She starts to realize that much of her insecurity was never truly about her abilities or her worth, but about how much energy she spent trying to manage what was never under her control. In Japanese wisdom, this realization is not dramatic. It is quiet, almost invisible. It arrives as a soft release rather than a bold declaration. This is where the principle of shikata jie nai becomes deeply comforting for many women. It is what it is does not mean giving up on life or accepting suffering passively. It means understanding with emotional maturity that some things cannot be forced, fixed, or reversed, no matter how much mental energy is poured into them. When a woman stops fighting reality, she begins to reclaim herself. Many insecurities are born from an exhausting inner battle. The battle to rewrite the past. The battle to control how others perceive us. The battle to predict outcomes that have not yet arrived. Over time, this struggle drains the nervous system and leaves a woman feeling tense, vigilant, and quietly tired. Japanese culture does not encourage this kind of inner warfare. Instead, it invites the woman to distinguish between what belongs to her and what does not. Her effort belongs to her. Her integrity belongs to her. Her presence belongs to her. Other people's reactions do not. When a woman accepts this boundary, her emotional world begins to reorganize itself. The mind becomes less reactive. The heart feels less guarded. Insecurity no longer needs to shout in order to be heard. There is also a deep social dimension to insecurity that many women recognize only later in life. It is the habit of explaining too much, apologizing unnecessarily, or softening every truth in order to avoid discomfort. Japanese culture approaches this differently through the quiet power of the space between things. Is not only the pause between words. It is the pause between emotions, reactions, and decisions. It is the space that allows a woman to choose stillness instead of urgency. Many Japanese women learn that they do not need to justify every boundary they set, nor do they need to narrate their inner world in order to be understood. Silence, when used with presence, becomes a form of self-respect. When a woman allows herself to pause before responding, she feels less rushed to prove her value. When she stops filling every silence, she discovers that she is already enough without performance. Over time, this practice gently dismantles social insecurity because validation is no longer outsourced. And something beautiful happens in that space. The woman begins to listen to herself again. Not the critical voice that questions every choice, but the quieter voice that knows when something feels right or wrong. This inner listening is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, calm, and deeply grounded. As insecurity loses its grip, another emotional shift begins to unfold. The woman no longer feels the need to rush her healing or force her growth. She understands that emotional stability is built slowly, through repeated moments of self-trust. This is why Japanese wisdom does not glorify sudden transformation. It values rhythm, continuity, gentle discipline. A woman may still feel uncertain at times, but she no longer interprets that uncertainty as failure. She sees it as part of being alive, part of being sensitive, part of being human. At this stage in life, many women discover that insecurity often appears when they are disconnected from their own pace. When they try to live according to timelines that no longer reflect who they are. Japanese philosophy encourages a return to natural timing, the understanding that life unfolds in seasons, and that each season has its own energy, its own needs, and its own form of beauty. A woman in her 40s, 50s, or 60s is not meant to move through the world the same way she did at 20. Her wisdom is deeper now, her perception more refined, her priorities quieter but more meaningful. When she honors this shift, insecurity softens, because it no longer feels like she is lagging behind. She understands that she is simply arriving somewhere new. If you find yourself recognizing parts of your own experience in these reflections, you are not alone. Many women carry these feelings silently, believing they should have outgrown them by now. But growth does not mean the absence of insecurity. It means learning how to hold it with kindness and perspective. And if you feel called to walk this path more deeply, you are welcome to subscribe to the channel and continue exploring these teachings with us. As this journey continues, something important becomes clear. Japanese women do not build confidence by repeating affirmations or forcing positivity. They build emotional steadiness by aligning their inner world with reality, rather than resisting it. They accept imperfection without shame. They act without waiting for certainty. They speak less but with more intention. They release what they cannot control. And through these quiet practices, insecurity gradually loses its authority. Not because it disappears completely, but because it is no longer feared. In the next part of this reflection, we will bring all of these elements together and explore how insecurity transforms when a woman begins to live from presence rather than pressure, creating a sense of inner belonging that does not depend on external validation. There comes a moment in a woman's life when insecurity no longer feels like an enemy to defeat, but like a quiet messenger asking to be understood. This moment does not arrive with noise or drama. It arrives gently, often after years of trying to be strong in ways that no longer feel true. Japanese wisdom recognizes this transition as a natural stage of emotional maturity. A woman begins to understand that peace is not created by controlling her inner world, but by listening to it with patience and respect. When insecurity appears, she no longer rushes to silence it. She pauses. She observes. She asks what it is pointing toward. Very often, insecurity is not about fear itself but about disconnection. Disconnection from one's own rhythm. Disconnection from what truly matters. Disconnection from the body's quiet signals that say, slow down, or, this no longer fits who you are becoming. In Japan, there is a deep respect for harmony, not as perfection but as balance. Emotional harmony does not mean feeling calm all the time. It means allowing emotions to move without judgment, without suppression, and without turning them into identity. This is why insecurity gradually loses its intensity when a woman stops fighting it. When she no longer interprets it as proof that something is wrong with her, but as information about where care is needed. A woman who lives this way does not seek confidence as a performance. She does not try to appear unshaken or endlessly positive. Instead, she cultivates steadiness, which is far quieter and far more powerful. Steadiness grows when a woman knows that she can feel unsure and still remain grounded. When she trusts herself enough to move slowly, to change her mind, to rest without guilt, and to say no without explanation. This inner stability does not come from external validation. It comes from belonging to oneself. As women enter their 40s, 50s, and 60s, the desire to belong externally often fades, and a deeper longing takes its place. The longing to feel at home inside one's own life, to wake up without pressure, to move through the day without constant self-surveillance, to exist without needing approval. Japanese philosophy honors this stage of life. It does not see aging as decline, but as refinement, a narrowing of focus toward what is essential. Insecurity often softens when a woman allows herself to release roles that were never meant to be permanent. The role of caretaker without rest, the role of peacemaker at personal cost, the role of being agreeable in order to be accepted. When these roles loosen, something unexpected happens. The woman begins to feel lighter, even if her life circumstances have not dramatically changed. She realizes that much of her insecurity came from abandoning herself in small, invisible ways, day after day. And so the healing begins, not with grand declarations, but with subtle shifts. She chooses honesty over performance. She chooses rest over constant effort. She chooses presence over prediction. These choices do not eliminate insecurity overnight, but they change her relationship with it. Insecurity no longer dictates her decisions. It becomes a background sensation rather than a commanding voice. In Japanese culture, there is a quiet understanding that life will always contain uncertainty. This is not something to be solved. It is something to be lived alongside. When a woman accepts this truth, she stops waiting for a version of herself that feels permanently secure. She understands that confidence is not a destination. It is a byproduct of self-trust. Self-trust grows each time she listens to her body instead of pushing through exhaustion. Each time she honors her limits without apology. Each time she allows herself to be seen as she is, rather than as she thinks she should be. This is the moment when insecurity truly begins to lose its power. Not because it disappears, but because it is no longer feared. The Japanese approach teaches that when a woman stops treating insecurity as a flaw, it stops behaving like one. It becomes softer, quieter, and easier to carry. And eventually, something profound happens. The woman realizes that she does not need to become someone else in order to feel at peace. She only needs to return to herself. This return is not dramatic. It does not require reinvention. It happens through daily choices that honor inner truth. A slower morning, a deeper breath before responding, a boundary held without explanation, a moment of silence instead of self-criticism. These moments accumulate, and over time, they create a life that feels aligned rather than forced. Insecurity cannot survive in alignment. It thrives in contradiction. When a woman lives in contradiction, constantly overriding her own needs, insecurity grows louder. When she lives in alignment, insecurity has nothing to push against. This is the quiet strength of Japanese wisdom. It does not teach women to conquer themselves. It teaches them to cooperate with who they already are. And this is why so many Japanese women appear calm without effort, grounded without rigidity, and confident without display. Their strength is not loud. It is settled. As this reflection comes to a close, there is one final truth worth holding gently. You were never meant to feel fearless. You were meant to feel supported. Supported by your own presence. Supported by your own compassion. Supported by the wisdom you have gathered through living. If insecurity still visits you from time to time, let it. It does not diminish you. It reminds you that you are human, sensitive, and alive. And if this journey resonated with something inside you, subscribe and join this circle of feminine wisdom, where growth is gentle, presence is honored, and no woman is asked to abandon herself in order to belong. Your life does not need to be louder to be meaningful. It only needs to be true.